Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Speedify Live Office Hours. I'm your host, Alex Geesis, and like I said, this is Speedify Live. So this is a live stream about live streaming, and in particular, this is Office Hours. So this is your chance to corner some of the developers and get whatever questions you have answered. We're starting to try to structure these Wednesday shows a little more than we did in the past. So you'll see that we're trying to do little segments and things, but it doesn't change the fact that we are live. I see your comments and we can put them online. I'll pop them up and we'll answer pretty much everything you guys ask. So, hit those buttons. Give us a follow if you haven't already. Follow, subscribe, like, depending on where you're watching it. The buttons might say different things. Also, tell us who else you're watching or what software you're using these days, because we can get those people on as guests. Seems like Speedify Live's now reached that critical mass and a good enough reputation that people want to be on this show. So, tell us who to invite. We'll invite them. All right. So today is office hours. So, start asking those questions. I see we've got one, and we'll get to it in a second. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what is Speedify, what is the show, how do I get started, but let's go. Hey, it's Kevin Cunningham, lead developer on Speedify, the man himself. Hey, Kevin, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. All right, so we'll start. We got a question already. Beef Supremo 7 says, when are we developing a module for the pfSense firewall? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Last I heard, the pfSense firewall only worked on OpenBSD. Is that still true?
Off the top of my head, I don't actually know, but yeah, I can say it's something that we haven't looked into deeply. It's not something we're planning to do in the near future, but we can keep that in mind and look into it maybe for the future. We'll see.
Yeah, it's not on the roadmap. Jonathan Drude says we should interview Strustrep, the inventor of C++. All right. We may not be able to get him or the Kardashians on, but actually, I have no idea. Does he do interviews? I just read things from him. Yes, OpenBSD is correct. Yeah, so we don't yet support OpenBSD. I'll be honest, not on the roadmap. Not sure how big a deal it would be. Do you?
I don't think it would be too bad. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I have to look at the details. There's probably just tiny little details of things, but I would think that kind of our base, core process would probably be all right with it. We'd have to see if there's any little specifics. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, your C++ code runs on, Linux and the Mac,
right? So
and iOS and Android. It's pretty portable. All right. So let's leave it. So what kind of devices can? Why don't you? What are all the devices you can run Speedify on today, or operating systems?
Yeah. So you have mobile phones, you have iOS and Android, and that includes things like tablets. You could run it on iPads or Android tablets. We have Windows. We support Windows both for ARM and x86. So, I mean, that covers about a lot of different Windows devices. Linux, we support anything Debian based for Linux. So that includes Debian, Ubuntu. You can run it on the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi OS is Debian based, as well as you can also do Ubuntu on the Raspberry Pi. And lots of other little Linux boards that you can run it on. Anything that can run kind of a Debian-based Linux distro, you can run it on those. And then, Mac. I didn't mention Mac as well, but yeah, we also support Mac. Trying to think if I missed anything. It covers most of it. There's some other strange devices out there, but yeah, if you're kind of fall into one of those.
Android TV, right?
Yeah.
Including
Fire TV and
the Fire TV operating system from Amazon. I don't think you can buy on the Fire TV. Like, the store doesn't work.
Right.
But you can go to our website, buy, and then go on your Fire TV and log in after you've bought with the account you get from buying. So it all works. But I don't think you can actually purchase from a Fire TV. But it's the same with if you're using some rooted Android, it probably won't let you buy on the device. But that's fine. You can just go to our website, speedify.com, purchase there, come back, log in with the credentials you got when you bought. And so it's cool. All right. Zach says, not sure how much attention you guys pay to the Smooth WAN project. Speedify integrated with OpenWRT, but it works extremely well. It's incredibly stable. We pay a medium amount of attention to it. And, the developer sometimes hops on here on some of these chats. And we've had him on a couple times before and ended up talking with him about the project. So, we're fans of the project. All right. Shahab says, man, your VPN is down in Iran. We need stealth protocol, which is still working here. Hardly. We made a lot of changes, and our number of users in Iran are back up. They're, in fact, the highest they've ever been. We are shoving just about 2 terabytes an hour worth of data to Iran. Oh, there you go. So it's 7 days, 260 terabytes right? It's 168 hours a week. Yeah, you see, it's close to 2 terabytes an hour. That said, it is a constant cat and mouse game. I'm sorry if you're not on right now. I would say try other servers, poke around in Germany and things. We do, some of the clever stuff we used to use, Cloudflare, to get through firewalls seems to have broken completely. So it's back on a few of our tricks for magically getting through firewalls kind of broke. But we've done enough stuff that, you just saw that graph. We have lots and lots of users in Iran who are back to connecting despite the firewall. So there's more work to do. I would suggest really trying different servers. Poke around, try Falkenstein in Germany. That might be a good. All right. Mr. Urban World says there's an untapped audience for Speedify we are overlooking. There's now cloud gamers, and some of the guys in the community complain about slow speeds. This is where Speedify shines. Okay. Any suggestions, Mr. Urban World? How do I reach the cloud gamers? Obviously, I can't buy ads on Stadia anymore. Google shut it down. Is there somewhere else I'm supposed to be going? Is there some community where these people hang out? I would love to reach out. All right. Umesh says, hi, I used to connect to a VPN in India, but recently I noticed that India is no longer available as a country. Do you know what happened? Any idea when it will be back? Yes, India passed laws saying that we needed to keep detailed logs on anyone who connected to our VPN servers for 5 years and turn them all over the moment that anyone in the Indian government asked. Therefore, we shut down all of our servers in India. There's some discussion on whether we should bring them back with a crazy warning that, the Speedify privacy policy does not apply if you connect to these servers. Assume the government of India is watching everything, and or should we just stick with our current? Sorry, the law violates our privacy policy, which is where we're at now. But there's no way for us to do our GDPR privacy policy everywhere in the world and obey those Indian rules. So that's where we're at. Beef Supreme says, since it's a custom VPN protocol, I'm guessing it can't be installed on any firmware-based Cisco iOS products. Are there any consumer, prosumer grade routers y'all are building modules for? Yes. Sorry. Can't tell you which yet. We are working on it. We are working on routers. I hear that prototype devices have been shipped to us. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to say something soon.
Yeah, but nothing currently available.
Yeah. I mean, you can do stuff with Raspberry Pis, right? Or any Debian Linux. We have scripts and things that come with Speedify for Linux. And yeah. All right. Sophiane says, can you add other servers because I think it don't want to connect? Try Falkenstein, Germany. Servers, country, Germany, Falkenstein. Just a guess. Might work, might not work.
Yeah, we're constantly adding new servers and monitoring and seeing what's
and more we're changing the IP addresses of servers, and who knows? Trying all sorts of things. All right, we got a fan. We'll never forget your kindness to Iran. We're trying, man. We're trying. All right, man. You guys have a lot of questions today. That's fantastic. All right. Quiet Galaxy, what about those packets? So we were getting some questions the other day, right? Like, we talk about the servers, sockets, and packets. Do you want to talk about packets and sockets? What are they?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, we throw around these terms all the time. I guess we're used to them, and it's not necessarily common knowledge for everyone else. So yeah, I guess first we talk about server. So a server is um, basically another machine that's running some sort of, for lack of a better term, service. So a common example would be web servers where they're hosting web pages, and your computer or your device reaches out and asks that server for the web page. But there's all sorts of servers, things that host videos and whatever sorts of contents you're getting online. You have different servers that provide that. Um, so in our case, we have VPN servers, which are the Speedify client connects to tunnel your data through to get to the internet, and that handles decrypting all your packets before it sends it out to the internet. So there can be different ways that servers get used. But so when a device wants to talk to something over the network or over the internet, it makes what's called a socket. And so a socket provides communication between your device and some other computer, a lot of times a server on the internet. And so providing, depending on, there's different types of sockets, but depending on the type of socket, usually it provides two-way communication back and forth that you can send and receive data to and from the server. And a lot of times there's IP addresses and ports associated with that. So you connect from some IP address and port on your local side to some IP address and port on the particular server. A lot of times port 443 when you're talking to a web server for HTTPS. And a particular protocol. And so usually, talk about the 5 tuple that identifies, the IP address, local and remote IP address, and local and remote ports, and the protocol that it uses to identify a particular socket, particular connection between you and a server. And so then, once you have that connection, the data that's sent back and forth is split up into what are called packets. So packets are basically these chunks of data that get sent between your computer and another computer, or from that other computer to yours. And they're split up into, depending on what protocol it's using. There's TCP and UDP and different protocols that get used. It usually puts headers on top of these packets that give information about where the packet's going or what's contained in the packet. And they're broken up into kind of split sizes. Or fixed sizes based on what's going to fit through the connection. So different protocols will have different mechanisms they use for what size is used, but a lot of times it's split up into these fixed sizes that get sent and processed, and things get kind of reassembled on the other side into whatever data stream you're processing or using. I guess we're going to talk about a client as well. So a client would be, if we're talking to a server, talking to a web server, a client would be the device that you're using to access that or make the request. So I reach out to a web server and say, give me this web page. The device that I'm accessing it on is typically referred to as the client, the one that's requesting the information from a particular server.
All right. So why don't we go on to what's new in Speedify? So let's go. Woohoo! Fancy transitions. I like that. So what's coming new in Speedify, Kevin?
Yeah, so we're working on a few different things. So one thing that we're working on is expanding our offerings for things that we allow to bypass the VPN. Particularly, there's a bunch of sites out there that just don't want VPNs to work. They don't want you to access them with a VPN.
Ticketmaster.
Yeah, Ticketmaster is a good example. Banks are another example. They're really concerned about fraud and security, and don't want people accessing them through a VPN. So we're kind of expanding the offering of what we're going to have for different services, and being able to allow you to bypass a lot more services than we did in the past for a lot of these different sites, allowing them to work and keep your VPN connected and access all the stuff that you can over the VPN, but certain things that just aren't going to work with VPNs allow you to kind of seamlessly bypass that stuff while keeping the VPN connected. So hopefully Speedify will work a lot better for some of these people that see things getting blocked sometimes. And I guess you go to this question, and I can come back to what
Yeah, let's go to Mr. Urban World's question. How does Speedify deal with data caps? Example, Comcast Unlimited, but the phone is 10 gigabyte hotspot. Will users be notified once they're approaching the 10 gigabytes?
Yes. So we don't have a way of automatically knowing what your data limit is. Like we don't have a way to ask the connection what's your data limit. But if there's things, we have looked at ways that pulling that information maybe from the operating system in the future. But for right now, Speedify has in there on each connection you can specify both daily and monthly data caps, data limits of how much you want Speedify to use over that connection. So for example, Alex is going in here in the screen. Bring that up. So if you scroll down, there's the data cap section. So
data caps off. Let's turn it on.
Yep, so you can set a data cap. You probably want to make sure you don't run out of that though, Alex. So turn that up to something or turn that back off.
I'm going to turn it off. I'm not going to give you a live demo of running out of data while I'm on it. But yeah, so you can set monthly or daily or both, right?
Yeah. So I think on cellular connections, we usually ask you when we set up, but we'll go with like a default limit. I forget what it is, 2 gigabytes a month or something, and you can adjust that and change it to whatever you want. But so that, you can restrict how much Speedify will use of particular connections if you really want to kind of limit how much they're using. There's also the option to rate limit particular connections if you want to slow down, how quickly they're using data. You can set a rate limit. So you only use 10 megabits over this connection just to keep me online or give me some extra speed boost, but I don't want to blow through all my data cap. You can kind of limit that. So yeah, Speedify does have options for data caps. It allows you to configure things there.
So the only time I use rate limits, and I do use rate limits, is when I'm traveling internationally, right? And like, AT&T, I'll pay them $30 and they'll give me 10 gigabytes of data. And if I run out, they charge me like $30 a gigabyte, right? I mean, there's some crazy, terrible plan. And so I'll put on, the daily limit, if I'm going to be there for 2 weeks of, 750 megabytes, so I don't exceed it. And I'll rate limit myself down to five megabits, right? So it's just enough to do a little texting or whatever. And it can't go fast, right? So I'll lock those things in if I'm traveling internationally. But if I'm here live streaming, of course, I would never put a rate limit on myself. All right. So, Starlink. You were going to say something about Starlink, weren't you?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we've gotten a few complaints from people, particularly where people running Speedify on as like a router device on a Raspberry Pi, and they have a Starlink connection. They want to be able to access that Starlink interface on the local router. They can, see information about how things are going. And a lot of times because it's on the VPN, that traffic, Starlink does something weird where the IP address that they use to access it on the local network doesn't match what the range that the router is using. So Speedify gets tricked into sending that data over the VPN, and it doesn't end up going to the Starlink router. So we're putting in some rules to recognize that when you're on the Starlink and allow that traffic to go around to the right interface, so that you'll be able to use kind of the local network Starlink interface to manage things while you're connected to Speedify.
Yeah, because people love Starlink plus Speedify, right? Between when Starlink has all that packet loss and Speedify's error correction kicks in, sometimes doubles the speed when you don't have a great connection to the satellite, and Speedify's ability, if you tether a phone, even if it's like 3G or something, right? As the Starlink goes to hell, it can go ahead and kick in use a little bit of 3G, 4G to keep you on until the next satellite comes along. But there are these little quirky things like that the stat screen didn't work with Speedify. So we're grinding through these things, and will there be a sale for Black Friday?
I think so. I forget
Yes,
the details.
yes, there will.
I think we're working on putting up some sales. Yeah,
it's gonna be a big sale. It's gonna be fantastic. Yes. Speedify subscriptions would be the perfect digital stocking stuffer. Well, we should look into that, how to do gift subscriptions and stuff.
Yeah.
We're using Recurly. I think the platform supports all that crazy stuff. We just have to kind of turn it on. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is Mastodon and the Fediverse. There's a huge debate going on inside the company. Me, Kevin, Brian Purnell, we have all joined Mastodon. It is this crazy new social network that a lot of people think is essentially the replacement for Twitter. And I think we all think it's great. I think there are a bunch of people here who don't think the world needs another social network. So I'm curious, are any of you on Mastodon or anywhere in the Fediverse? And if so, are there things you'd like to see from Speedify there? Would you like to be able to get customer support there? Would you like a bot that tells you, sends you the release notes whenever there's a new release? That tells you whenever one of these streams is live? Is any of that useful? I mean, if it's not, I don't want to waste my time, money, and energy building crazy stuff. But if we have users there in the Fediverse, the federated universe, see. So yeah, I'm totally into it. I've been a member for 4 days now. I speak the slang. But just tell us. Are you on it? Mastodon? Drop us a comment. All right. So I wait for all those enthusiastic yeses that seem to be taking their time. Mr. Urban World, my goal in life is to take a Hyperloop train to meet the CEO of Speedify at White Castle and eat nonstop like Harold and Kumar. All right. That is a great dream. I have not been I don't think I've been to a White Castle since high school. Those greasy little square burgers.
I don't know. I don't think I ever have. I've seen the movie, but I don't think I've ever.
We drive out to Queens, and there was one. They had bulletproof glass, in front of the cashiers, right? They'd like put they'd put out a drawer, and you put your money in. They close it, and they put your burgers in, and push it back out, right? Apparently, they got robbed a lot. I don't know why, but sure, I would love to do that. Mr. Urban World has been on it for 3 years now and have been addicted. All right. So I'm Alex Gizis at mstdn.social, but I think you just put Alex Gizis. It's just me. Every day I'm playing laser tag in VR. It's so fun talking to people around the world. I've met numerous entrepreneurs, toured an actual haunted house that freaked me out. Metaverse is the future. All right. What am I on Twitter? I'm also Alex Gizis. Alex Gizis. No space in the middle. You can find me on either platform. I'm there, still there. All right. Why don't we go to the mailbag? Let's go. Obviously, I need to work on my segues. It's a new skill for me. All right. Do we have some mailbag things to pop in there? Pop up here?
I think so. Yep.
There we go. All right. It's a little small, but Prime Video does not bypass.
So yeah, we had a user that was trying to watch Amazon Prime Video, and they kept running into issues, telling them that they were using the VPN. So in this user's case, it was just that they did not turn on the option. So we have a bypass option for Amazon Prime Video. I was talking before about how we're expanding those bypass options. But if you go into the bypass menu there, Alex can show, there's an option to bypass Amazon Prime Video.
So I go to menu. Boop. And I go down till I see bypass. And then I've got it off as well. So let's turn it on.
So
That's
We
all
leave it
we
off
need
by
to do.
default. Most of the bypass options we turn on
Yeah.
by default.
So that fixed them right up.
Yep.
Yeah. You still there, Kevin?
Yeah.
All right. Speedify not updating. Speedify stopped working on my Raspberry Pi. I copied what I tried and pasted below. Apt-get command says it's the latest version. What can I do to fix it?
Yeah, so this user's had an interesting scenario. So that the device they were using stopped syncing up with the latest time, and the date and time on their device got very out of date. And that can cause very weird things on the internet for lots of devices trying to access any HTTPS connections or secure sites. A lot of times that can mess with the cert verification stuff if the time on your system is off. So in this case, it was also messing with apt being able to do the updates. They were getting errors. And so when they were trying to update Speedify, it was giving them errors from apt because it was thinking that the date was wrong. And so in their case, they were able to just sync up, get the correct date, and things started working again for them. We see time to time users that come in with that. A lot of the modern systems, they automatically update the time, but some of the Linux devices and things like that, sometimes you run into things where they won't automatically update the time, or that could be disabled.
All right. I think we have one more question from the mailbag. Dedicated servers. All right. I used to use Speedify a lot, but for over a year, it's been unusably slow. In fact, even to load your support page, I had switched to TorCard. What? What's going on? Is there a slowdown in general, lack of resources, or issue at my end? I'm using the App Store version on a MacBook Pro, latest system. I've had the issue in at least 6 countries. What was the issue here, Kevin? Because that's certainly not a complaint we normally hear. I mean, it's nice and fast.
So we're showing the wrong. I don't know.
I have a little note here that one of their internet connections was so slow that bonding it actually slowed them down.
Yeah, sorry, they were showing a different one on the screen here, and I was confused which one we're talking about here. But okay, I think the one that you were just reading, there was an issue. I think we may have actually covered this one last week. I think Brian covered it. But yeah, they're having an issue where one of their connections, the Ethernet port, was very, very slow. Either there was a hardware issue with it or something with the cable. But yeah, when they ended up switching to use a different port, then things started working correctly. So it's kind of an odd issue, but yeah, things can happen sometimes with hardware not working right or cables going bad, and that can cause weird issues where they're thinking they were combining all their connections, but they were getting slower speeds. But if they pulled that connection out, things were better again. But I guess that also brings up a good point. We get lots of people writing in of, I combined my 3 or 4 connections together in it, and it's not faster. And common thing to check is to pare down how many connections and start with a small number of connections. Start with one connection and figure out, what speeds do you get with that, with and without Speedify, and then add connections from there and verify, is it going faster? Because sometimes just shoving all these connections in, it isn't necessarily faster for a bunch of different reasons. But yeah, kind of baselining yourself and increasing the connections and seeing that it's improving can be a helpful kind of tool to diagnose when you're seeing issues with speed and things not going as fast as you expect them to. And sometimes you can identify, okay, it's this particular connection that's causing an issue or slowing things down.
Right. Cool. All right. So I guess let's move to just questions from the audience. Time for the audience Q&A. Let's go. Although let's be honest, we've been taking questions from the audience the whole time. So
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? And are there any we missed? There were lots of questions. I tried to keep up. All right. Thank you for your favor. All right. So, we're starting to slow down a little bit, getting towards the end of the year here. But we have a bunch of live streams coming up. Of course, next Wednesday, we're doing this again. November 29th, we have Dr. WD-40. That should be fun. All right. What is this? Marby says, I use Speedify on my MacBook Air 2020 M1. I'm using Ethernet and I use hotspot on my GS21 Ultra. I have Speedify on both. What are the best settings to make sure these play nice?
Yeah, so when you're tethering and using the hotspot from your phone, even if you're running Speedify on that device, the hotspot is going to go around when you tether to another device. That's going to go around the VPN running on your Android device. So you don't have to worry about Speedify on your MacBook going over Speedify on your Android phone. It'll just share, the cellular connection over the hotspot to you. So in terms of, typically assuming that your Ethernet is some sort of home connection, cable connection, or fiber or something like that, I would say have that as the primary connection, and then set your hotspot from the phone as secondary, which should be the defaults that we come up with. We'll detect it's a cellular connection. And then, so Speedify will prefer using your Ethernet connection, your home connection, and then if something goes wrong with that or it slows down, it'll kick in and use the phone. But then it won't be trying to use your phone all the time and chewing up your data or chewing up the battery life on your phone, things like that. It'll just kind of use it when it needs it. So that's what I would recommend. And then same thing, depending how you have your phone configured, I'd probably recommend the same thing, that you keep whatever the Wi-Fi is connected to, assuming it's the same as that Ethernet one, your home connection as the primary and the cellular is the secondary on the phone as well.
All right. Super Tech Grover says she's a new user. Any tips?
So, I mean, we have, a lot of different videos and KB articles and things like that for getting users getting started and setting things up. Certainly trying to make sure that the connections that you want to use are connected to your device. If you have multiple connections you're trying to use, make sure they're connected to your device and make sure they're showing up in Speedify. If you're having, specific issues, definitely reach out to our support or ask questions here. But yeah, I would visit our KB articles, support.speedify.com, and check out. There's lots of different guides about how to configure the settings in different scenarios. But we do a pretty good job of having the default settings, I think, work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So for the most part,
the main thing we can't figure out automatically, as he said, was if one of your internet connections is really expensive and you want to put a cap on it, we can't figure that out automatically. You need to put that in. Actually, if in Windows, if you set up metered connections in Windows, I don't know how many people have. If you've told Windows already what your data cap is, then we'll know it. We'll read it off Windows. But I don't think Windows can figure it out automatically. I think you have to type it in yourself. All right. So Ryan asked, can we use a specific port in Speedify? For example, I want to connect with UDP protocol with port 53. If it's not possible, can you guys add this feature in the future where a user can select a specific port?
We do not offer that right now. So we
port
do.
53 is the DNS port. He didn't ask for a random port. He is trying to disguise it as DNS, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's something we've talked about in the past, but yeah, I think there's some VPNs that will try and disguise their traffic to look like other things like DNS requests or other types of traffic. The one thing that we do support though is HTTPS traffic. We have an HTTPS protocol, talks over port 443 to make your traffic look like web traffic. So I would try that, but yeah.
It's the people I've seen there are VPNs that'll use port 53 to disguise themselves as DNS. They're so slow.
Yeah.
Right. Routers know that, nobody's using megabits of DNS, right? DNS is where you look up the names of things. And you might look up 100 names a second, but anything more than that, you're abusing it and they'll purposely slow you down. So you see speeds of 100 kilobits type stuff. Nobody can get full speed. And I guess with Speedify in our name, we made a decision that, People are going to get pretty pissed off if Speedify connects and gives them 100 kilobits.
Yeah.
And yeah, we weren't wrong. All right. Hamid says, sometimes I connect Speedify with my Xiaomi phone, but I don't have access to any site. I test Speedify with other phones. In all new Xiaomi phones, I have the same problem. Any solution?
They're able to connect Speedify. It sounds like possibly a DNS issue would be my guess, but I don't know. I don't know. I would try changing the
logs.
What's that?
Should
Yeah, I would send us logs to support at speedify.com and we'll see if we can figure something out. But yeah, off the top of my head, you could try changing around the DNS settings and see if that does anything. But
sending logs, you go here, you click at the hamburger, and I got to type on it, click on it on the actual screen, not the video. Yeah, and you go to the very bottom, and there's this generate logs, and you click that, and it'll make a zip file. And yeah, if you're on a Xiaomi phone, it should open your email client. It's an email to support at speedify.com. It'll attach the zip itself, write a few words about how you connected and had no internet. And that'll be super helpful to us. Yeah, I don't really know of a problem like that. You're right. I mean, it could be DNS. There are other DNS servers you can pick. I guess I can show that too. Go down here, DNS services. You know, trying one of these others could be interesting.
Yep.
All right. All right, there's a question for you, Kevin. Did the Phillies win?
I don't know. I didn't pay attention. Did they?
I didn't think. You'd think, man, you'd know whether or not you live in the city of the team that won the World Series.
No, I know they lost.
We did not. We lost. That's correct. All right, Super Tech Grover. It seems so easy to use. It is so easy to use. Cool. All right. We'll coin the chat. Hi, just got here. Appreciate you doing office hours. I have a question about working with my work VPN. I want to use Speedify, but I also need to be on OpenVPN to access work resources. This appears to clash because Speedify is itself a VPN, right? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And so depending on the device you're on, like things like mobile phones, iOS and Android, you can only run one VPN at a time.
Well, like Android, a lot of them now have
the work profiles.
Yeah. And so you can set up one profile for your personal stuff and one for your work, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that is an option where you could usually have a separate profile, and the VPNs usually only affect the things in that profile. So you could try having a work profile with just OpenVPN. But yeah, I don't know what device you're on. On desktop computers, yeah, you can have them clash sometimes if they're both trying to be the default route. But if you have an option for your work VPN to turn it off so it's just giving you the local network access and not trying to be the default route to the internet, sometimes that can help things to work. Connect Speedify first and then connect your work VPN over top of it. But yeah, if you have two VPNs that are both trying to be the default route to the internet, that can be a problem. So the other option would be, run Speedify on another device. Set up like a little Raspberry Pi to act as your router with the multiple connections and share that to your computer, and then you can run OpenVPN from your computer over top of Speedify that way. So that the two VPNs aren't running on the same exact device. So there's ways to work around it, but yeah, that's typically. I would recommend if you want to use Speedify for most things, I would say connect Speedify first and then connect OpenVPN second over top of Speedify would be what I would suggest to try. But you can try if it doesn't like your work one doesn't like connecting over Speedify for some reason, you can try the opposite and just tell Speedify to ignore the OpenVPN connection. You can change. I think by default, we typically will ignore any other VPN connections, but if you see it showing up in the Speedify interface, you can go to the priority and set it to never, and Speedify will ignore it and not try and use it as an internet connection.
All right, cool. Beef Supreme says, if we work on UDP tunneling, which we do, can we add ICMP tunneling, Internet Control Protocol? Sometimes large ping packets are all we can send out.
Is that true? I would think ICMP would be one of the first things that get blocked. It's pretty common to see that get.
Now, ICMP is kind of nasty because with TCP and UDP, there's a port number on each packet, which is telling the operating system which program on the computer you're sending it to. ICMP doesn't have that. The messages are going right to the kernel of the other computer. I'm sure there's some low level way to get ICMP packets coming in, but it's not normal. The regular APIs don't let you, some of them let you send them, but you don't receive them. They just hit the kernel of the other operating system, right?
It depends on the operating system. Yeah, there are ways. Some operating systems allow you to have ICMP sockets, but sometimes you end up receiving the ones from other sockets that sent them as well. Yeah, there's weird stuff there.
There's no port numbers on them. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. So WillCoin Linux laptop. Oh, external Speedify is possible on Pi. Thank you for the tips. Yeah. 2 different computers. That's a great way to run 2 different VPNs. All right, we're at 2:47. I think we are probably about out of time. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so like, follow, subscribe. We'll be back next Wednesday. Here we are. And then we're going to have Dr. WD-40 on the 29th. On the 2nd, see Dorner Fitness. Miracle on South 13th Street coming up. That was a favorite. It's actually in the intro, some of the stuff with me looking at the Christmas lights. It's gonna be awesome. It's always awesome. Go see Scott. He lives down there. He's a great guy. All right, so you guys should like, follow, subscribe. That's probably it. So thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate you being here. All your wisdom and answers.
Of course.
And thank you to everyone who asked questions and everybody who watched. Super Tech Rover, we do appreciate you new users. And that's about it. All right. Good night, everybody. Let's go.
Bye.